All right, guys, welcome into AL.com recruiting show number 7. I'm your host, Simone Eli, sports anchor, reporter down at WKRG in Mobile, alongside Ben Thomas, the high school sports guru, as we like to call him, for AL.com. Behind the scenes, we have Patrick Greenfield. He's our producer. He's rolling all the kinks out for us. He is the guy that makes us look good. We appreciate him. Today, we are talking Powell Gordon, a linebacker at Auburn High School. He is committed to Auburn University, will be a part of the new Bryan Harsin era on the Plains. Ben, this is a guy I think that Auburn's really, really excited to get, a hometown guy who's already passionate about the program.
Yeah, good get. I mean, if you saw the state championship game last year with Thompson High, this guy's all over the field, number 20. If you saw him on your screen, makes a lot of plays for Auburn High School. Patrick's got his film up there. He's a good get for Bryan Harsin. You know, they've only got 3 2022 commitments, 2 of them from right around there, in Powell Gordon and Jarrell Stinson from Opelika. So this guy's going to be a good player. He's going to be a good representative of the school, and I understand he's actually maybe on campus today at Auburn. So good get for Bryan Harsin.
I think that we all know that Bryan Harsin is trying to keep in-state guys in state, so certainly a priority to get in Auburn guys to stay in Auburn. We had the opportunity to talk to Powell Gordon now that recruiting is back, Ben. That's such a huge thing for so many of these recruits. We are seeing throughout the entire state tons of tweets. I absolutely love it for these guys to be able to be on campus, to be able to meet these coaches in person, to be able to really be entrenched and a part of this program now that recruiting has finally opened up here this week.
It's a huge week, Simone. I mean, we've gone 15 months basically without face-to-face recruiting. College coaches found another way to do it through Zooms and innovative presentations, and you got to give them credit for that. But for the kids, these kids, 15, 16, 17-year-old, some of them never been on campus before. So officially Tuesday was the day that, you could go back to on-campus recruiting, and so many kids I've seen list of where they're already visiting. Auburn, Alabama, all schools. We had Justice Finkley from Hewitt-Trussville, who we talked about on this show before. He's out at Stanford this week visiting Stanford. So I just think it's important, for these kids. They're making, Simone, what you got to figure is one of the most important decisions of their life, where they're going to spend the next 3, 4, 5 years of their careers. If they have dreams of playing in the NFL, which I'm sure probably all of them do, how is that going to help them? So to actually get a chance to go on campus, see what they're going to see every day, when they commit to that school, when they get to that school, I don't think that can be overvalued. I mean, I think it's a huge week, and I'm glad these kids are able to get back out there and see these campuses.
We'll touch base more about recruiting in general, but let's get back to Powell Gordon. He specifically, being from Auburn and going to Auburn, had a little bit of the benefit of already visiting Auburn many, many times, being from there. And we spoke about that, how important it is that he already was familiar with the campus, familiar with the program, and getting to know Bryan Harsin. Here's what he had to say about his commitment to Auburn.
Committed to Auburn back in February. How's that going? You still strong with the Tigers right now?
Yes, ma'am. I'm planning on visiting this June and just probably multiple times this summer, and I'm really excited about it.
How much is that going to help yourself and really all the recruits now that official visits are opening back up and kids can go on campus and actually be there, meet coaches in person, and be a part of the program?
Yeah, being on campus is a big thing because, you don't really want to 100% commit somewhere unless you've seen it in person. A lot of people haven't seen it in person. And, but for me, it's different. I've been there, 1,000 times and I live here. So I've already seen it.
Is it extra special to be going to Auburn, being from Auburn, playing Auburn High School, and just already kind of being entrenched in that community?
Oh, yeah, it's very special. Just because, everyone here is really an Auburn fan, and everybody is, proud of me and stuff. So it's special.
Do you feel like you have a little bit of an extra sense of pride, maybe more than just your average guy who's going to Auburn, because you've worn Auburn on your jersey before and you've just seen the Geriner Stadium and you've just been a part of that tradition already?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's big. Just just going straight from high school and then going to college at Auburn, it'll be big. Just representing it for my whole football career will be great.
All right, so obviously Powell excited to be a part of the Tigers program, understandably so. Listen, I was a college athlete. I went to a school 15 minutes away from where I was from. There's so much, it's extra special being a hometown guy, a hometown recruit, going to somewhere where you grew up watching the play. And Ben, I think I really could sense that from Powell throughout our conversation.
Yeah, I think Simone, he's Auburn. It's kind of interesting that Auburn University doesn't traditionally get a lot of recruits out of Auburn High School. I mean, I think the last guy they signed was John Sullen, I think in like 2009 or something like that. So it's been certainly Auburn's had some studs along the way, but they have not chosen to go to Auburn for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But that's not the case with Powell Gordon. I think it's interesting, for him, being on campus may not be that different. I mean, he basically lives at Auburn. He can go on campus anytime he wants. So for him, this week may not be as big as it is for a lot of prospects, but still, getting to talk to the coaches, that's the big thing. Go face to face with them, seeing the weight room and the plans for the new facilities and all that stuff, I think is huge. And so, like I said, Powell Gordon, I think, is kind of an underrated player. I think he'll a lot more schools will probably be offering him in the fall. But if you saw him play like the graphic Patrick had up, I think he had 80 tackles and 16 for a loss and 14 sacks. I mean, he was a key factor. They had one of the best defenses in the state last year as they got to the state championship game, and he was certainly a key to that.
Yeah, I think a tip of a hat a little bit to former Auburn High School head coach Adam Weingarten, what he was able to do there. Obviously, when guys go play at the state championship level, that helps with exposure when it comes to overall recruiting, but definitely for in the state as well. Powell and I talked a lot about this new Bryan Harsin era and what it means to be a part of this new wave and new excitement for everybody on the Plains. Obviously, being an Auburn fan, he's already a part of the new excitement with the new coaching staff, and now he gets to actually be a part of it. Here's what he had to say about talking to Bryan Harsin and Derek Mason, and of course that state championship game. We'll touch on that in a second as well.
What have your conversations with Coach Harsin been like so far?
They've all been good. He's just, he compares me to like players he's coached in the past and stuff, and he sees where I'd fit in his defense in the future.
And how about Coach Mason? Have y'all had conversations? What has that been like?
Yes, man. I've been talking with Coach Mason as well. He's a really good coach. He has a lot of experience, and he definitely knows what he's talking about.
How excited are you to kind of be a part of this new wave at Auburn, the Harsin era, everything that he's brought, the new staff, and really just the new excitement on the Plains?
Yeah, it's great to be like his first, full recruiting class. It's good to be a part of something new and kind of like lay the foundation for the future.
Just to get this out of the way, how helpful is that now, and what are you looking to focus on this coming season?
I really just want to focus on getting better all around, like mentally and physically, like just being focused, like in the game and stuff, because that's the biggest key for me is your focus.
How hungry is this team, are these, upcoming seniors after the way last year ended?
Oh yeah, we're very hungry because, like something like that, you can't go back and change it, but we can go back there, state championship, we've got a whole nother year, and we can go back and win it this time.
So I want to touch briefly on that state title game, Ben, one that is not going to be soon forgotten, not only in this state, but really nationally. The crazy ending there, Thompson and Auburn. And it felt like Powell Gordon, his name was called so many times at Bryant-Denny Stadium that night. He was all over the field. You look at some of his stats from when he was there as a junior at Auburn, and what his impact on this program has been huge.
Yeah, I mean, I know they want to forget about that. I mean, it's just hard to forget. They had the game won. I mean, you can't lose that game. They were up 9 points with 18 seconds left and lost. I know that's traumatic, and so I'm interested to see how they respond. Obviously, a new coach down there, and Keith Etheridge coming over from Oxford High School. He's won multiple state championships during his career at multiple stops. And he's got a good guy to base his defense on in Powell Gordon. So I'm sure they're determined. They want to put that behind them and get back. And really the only way to do that, Simone, is to get back and win the game. I mean, if you don't do that, that's going to live with you for a long time. But as you see there, he's just a playmaker for Auburn High School, and he'll be that same way for Keith Etheridge.
Couple things I want to add that was not in the interview that we selected for this show that Powell did say. I asked him, is there other schools trying to come in, and how strong are you on this Auburn commit? Is that where you're going to end up? He said 100%. This is where he wants to be. He wants to play for Auburn. Again, a hometown guy, but he feels very, very confident that's where he is going to end up next season, not this coming season, but next season, of course, his freshman year in college. I asked him about Coach Etheridge. Coach Etheridge, the former Oxford head coach, won a couple there. We know how talented he is as a coach, putting together a great staff there in Auburn. And he said Coach Etheridge already knows pretty much every single guy's name at Auburn, which doesn't shock me at all. He's a guy who's so passionate about his players, always pumping them up on social media. I have so much respect for Keith Etheridge and what he has done at every stop that he's ever been at. But thought that was pretty cool. He said he's come in, he's really embraced the guys that are there, gotten to know them personally, Ben. And I know, you know coaches really well too, and hard not to love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Keith Etheridge show, but one funny thing he told me when he was he only spent 1 year at T.R. Miller, and when he first got there, he just walked the hallways and didn't tell people who he was, just so he could, get accustomed to people. And he'll do the same thing. He's a great coach. Like I said, won the state championship at Oxford 2 years ago over Spanish Fort with all those great prospects. One thing I was interested in your interview, Simone, with Powell was, I think a lot of people are interested to see what the Auburn staff is going to be like. Remember, all these recruits, although they've talked to them on the phone, maybe Zoom calls, whatever, they have not met with them in person. So this is a key month really for this new Auburn staff to get in front of these recruits from not just from Alabama, but from wherever they're recruiting, and make an impression on them, make a good first impression. And I'm sure that's first and foremost in the mind for Coach Harsin and his staff.
Yeah, and speaking of not only new coaches, but new commitments, if you take a look, I know, Patrick, you have that Auburn commitment graphic that Ben had put together for us on the guys that they already have committed to the program prior to recruitment fully opening up. And here's a look at that. Another in-state guy right there in the Auburn Opelika area there, Ben.
Yeah, Jarrell Stinson also been committed for a long time, really fast defensive back. He's gotten a lot of looks. Gus Malzahn and UCF are trying to pry him away, and so other guys are still recruiting. It seems like Auburn's been kind of in a holding pattern. They've had these three guys committed for quite a while. But as John Garcia told us last week, recruiting's about to explode. I mean, we're about to get a lot of commitments here in the next couple of weeks, certainly next couple of months as kids get on campus. Like I said, Auburn, I think just, people being able to be there, there's so much, their program's always been sold on family and that type thing, that atmosphere, the small town atmosphere. So getting kids in there and being able to see that, I think will be huge for them.
Looking back at that list, another quarterback in the conversation there for Bryan Harsin, who's already got quite the quarterback room, but this is a guy who likes to have options.
Yeah, you got Holden Geriner from Georgia there. He's been committed for a while. Also I saw where they had Connor Harrell, the Thompson quarterback, on campus, I believe, on Tuesday. Yeah. They have not officially offered him yet, but he's got a lot of big-time offers. Michigan, North Carolina came in on him recently. So I'm wondering, Auburn and Alabama both have their quarterbacks committed in this class. Will they pull the trigger on Connor, the Class 7A back of the year? They haven't yet, but I think he's got a visit scheduled to Alabama, so we'll see if that happens for them.
Yeah. Speaking of in-state guys going to Auburn, Ben, update us on Jordan Ingram. I know that we talked earlier today, former St. Paul's standout. Already, there was talk that he was going to end up at Auburn. Now that's official.
Yeah, it's been not a very well-kept secret, Simone. He signed with Central Michigan last year out of St. Paul's. Very good running back, all-state player for Steve Mask at St. Paul's. Got in the transfer portal, I think, early May, and there was rumors that he was going to end up at Auburn. He is going to end up at Auburn. He was there on Tuesday. He'll be on scholarship at some point this summer and provide good depth for, that recruiting backfield, that recruiting room with Tank Bigsby and Sean Shivers and those guys. We all know they lost, I think, 3 guys to the transfer portal. So he'll be a big help there, but he is in Auburn and will be a good fit for them.
Ben, I know that throughout this entire state and throughout the entire country, like you said, recruiting is about to blow up. Anybody that you're kind of keeping your eye on, specifically in-state guys, and maybe the decision that they could be making here in the next couple of days, or that you're kind of anticipating which route are they going to go?
Yeah, man, I'm not really on the edge of my seat for anybody. I mean, I just don't know that we're going to get a lot of commitments, but I think, in the next couple of days, but I think it's going to happen very soon. I did talk to Shamar James this week, Simone, have a story up on AL.com about him. This is the Faith Academy standout who has Alabama and Florida in his top 2. He also talked to me this week about Auburn and Oregon kind of closing the gap. And then he mentioned a secret school, Simone, an underdog school that could be in the race. I asked him if that was UCF. He said it was
I feel like UCF is like the way to go for everybody nowadays, because Gus Malzahn is trying to keep his hand in this state.
Yeah, he said it was not UCF. I wonder if, his hometown kid, I wonder if it may be South Alabama. But interesting story. Check that out on AL.com. Also, I had a story yesterday on just where recruits are visiting, some of the top recruits in the state, both in class of 2022 and class of 2023. What visits do they have lined up this month? And it's a bunch, Simone. People going all over the place, not just Auburn and Alabama, but Stanford and Georgia and Florida. So take a look at that. And we're going to have stuff dropping, I think, daily now that recruiting's open. There's just a wide range of news happening, and we'll get commitments very soon, probably.
That's what we like to hear right here on AL.com recruiting. Recruiting's about to blow up. That means the show's about to blow up more than it already has. Thank you so much to the people who have tuned in and week out the last couple of months. We have really, really enjoyed putting this together. Thank you to Powell Gordon, the Auburn linebacker, headed to Auburn, going to be a part of the new Bryan Harsin era and one of his first recruiting classes there at Auburn. So we appreciate that. We'll have much more to come. We're going to take next week off. We will resume the week after that with another great guest. We'll be sure to put that on social media at Ben Thomas Preps on Twitter, at Simone Eli TV on Twitter. For Ben Thomas, for Patrick Greenfield, I'm Simone Eli. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see you in a couple weeks. Have a great rest of the week, everybody.